Now, the rest of the story.
Well, we went ahead and cut the valley. This is over 100 acres. It's a pretty good share of the amount of overall acres we have this year. But we also still have about 40 to 50 acres of first cut standing yet. We got to try to get that done basically as soon as possible. The plan, we should have it done before the end of the month. A lot of that was just timing, trying to get everything where it needs to be, and weather, because we try to make a lot of this stuff as dry hay. So to make this as dry hay, the valley in particular, you need a good stretch of dry weather. We needed at least 5 decent days of running, and they call it the Dome of Doom, that dry spell, the high heat and sunshine and beautiful weather was just going to wreak havoc on the crops, and I was actually cheering for it. And it showed up the night before this video. We got 2/10 of an inch at home. We got a 1/2 inch down at the valley is what the owners told me. I came down, I started cutting at about 7 o'clock that morning, and the ground was soft. Yeah, it was a little muddy, but by 10 o'clock, all the areas that I hadn't even cut yet were starting to dry up, where I really wasn't worried about getting stuck. I'm never worried about getting stuck down here. Not with the 76. I mean, that's the last machine I'd expect to get stuck with. Well, no, I've only had two close calls, but that's just because the ground sunk out from underneath me. But with the front wheel assist engaged, I can walk right out. And I wanted you guys to see how much material is here. I mean, cutting it, believe it or not, it doesn't seem like there is a whole lot more there than what I've had in the past, but in the windrow, it seems like it's just compressed and everything. But then once it's tedded out, which my tedding video should have been out by now, it throws this stuff out, and there's just a mat of material there. I've had people kind of tell me that they wish the tedder would go away. Dude, the tedder, I don't think I could do this without the tedder. I honestly don't, because I have to windrow this up, especially with the rain we got. This stuff, it's so thick, there is no drying to the ground until I go through and get this stuff cut up. I mean, the area between the windrows there is highly necessary, and because we were having 95-degree heat, blue sky, no clouds, and we had a nice breeze, and the 24 hours it took for us to come back down and ted it out, it was a significant difference. So then when you ted the stuff back out, then the area that had the actual windrow sitting on it, you're getting a bunch of that material off of that. That'll to dry out that much better. The only thing I had about it is I didn't leave as much stubble down here as I would have preferred. I mean, leaving stubble on this canary grass, it does allow it to come back a little bit quicker. I mean, it's still going to come back, but this is June 16th when I cut this. It's going to be the end of July unless I come down here and it's heading out again like mid-July, but I'm only going for 3 cuttings down here. I'm not putting myself through this 4 times. A lot of stress goes along with this, and for good reason, for the amount of dollar signs that are put into this and the amount of dollar signs that were laying on the ground by the time I was done cutting. The ground, if you look to the left of the screen behind the disc spine, that's one of the low-lying spots. There's still water in it. Back along the tree line to the left behind me there was once again another low-lying spot where, yes, it has water standing in it, and I'm hoping that it'll give me a chance to get it made for second cut. Third cut, I'm pretty confident for sure. I was asked if I was going to be running that mole plow down here anytime soon, and the answer is no. But I'm feeling pretty good that I want to go through. We're going to get everything made for the final cut, and then I'll come down, try to find time this fall yet, which I'll just make time. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to make a bunch of passes with that mole plow before before winter. I came down here over Christmas. I was bringing up, I don't know, about an inch or two of frost, and I didn't want to make a bunch of ridges and uneven ground. Well, all those areas I hit with the mow plow are pretty much non-existent in regards to heaving the ground like it did, because going through the rest of the winter and the rain we got, this ground settled back down, and I couldn't tell you. You wouldn't know where I went with that mow plow if I took you down here and pointed in the general direction and told you to go find it. So my only concern is getting that drainage way in with what the mow is creating. If that's gonna help, if I do it later in the fall in better conditions, because it'll allow it to keep that poor man's tile in the ground, and ideally it'll help it dry out next spring a little bit better, or keep from ponding over there like it does. So the Landowner was down here, and that's what they've said. They're happy with what we're doing down here. Like he said last year, the last 2 years, last year even more, but he says, I've never seen that made from tree line to the river. And the river's over my right shoulder there. It's to the left of the screen. He's like, I've never seen that. He says, you guys come in and you clean it up so nice. He's like, it looks so good. And, as an operator on somebody else's land like that, it does makes you feel good, because that's what I've been trying to do down here for the last couple of years now. And I've watched the progression of the videos I've made down here, and we're making the right moves, I feel, because between the fertilizer and spraying like I have been and getting it cut like I have been, I mean, you can see it in my videos. I was pretty I don't want to say downright discouraged, but I wasn't feeling it that we were going to be able to make 3 cuttings off this stuff when I first came down here and took it over, just because of the condition the place was in. I mean, the people that the person that had it before me had an unfortunate, he died. So it's not anybody's fault there. So I mean, the person that was running it before here wasn't, for obvious reasons, able to do anything with it. So when I first took it over in August of that year, I mean, nothing had been done to the place all summer. So by the time I went through and cleaned up the overgrowth, because leaving this stuff stand and not make it at all doesn't work. The way this ground is, you have to get the material off. You have to get that thatch off. I think 100% of it boils down to is you gotta be able to get that material off so the sun is actually able to hit that ground and help dry that ground out a little bit. You're not gonna get drought conditions down here very easily, because you don't have to dig very deep down here to find moisture. I mean, you can go down and kick your foot to the side a little bit and you're gonna find moisture. I mean, we were hauling the hay off of it 5 days after it was cut on areas that have had the material off, and the sun has been hitting it, and we're still sinking in to the depth of the tread on the tractor. And the material coming off of here was coming off anywhere from 0%, as in so low that my tester would not register it, all the way up to 15%. Like, that's the wettest I was finding. And I'd like to be in that 10 to 12% moisture percent area. So I mean, we're doing something right. I didn't think I would need the acid applicator down here like I did, because with the heat and cutting it and tetting it, letting it lay for a day and raking it, I figured I wouldn't need the applicator, and I still did on the headlands. So I ended up putting about 20 gallons of preservative on an assortment of this material down here, just because if I didn't, I would worry about hay quality down here. And I'm not shy with that stuff at all. I didn't feel like we needed it, and I didn't need it across 100% of everything down here. But where the tree line is, where it's not getting as much sun, where it's still wanting to hold on to the greenness and the material, we raked it. We let it lay for as long as I could because I had to open up the headlands for Dad. And then I rated that stuff, maxed out the controller, and I put on a heavy dose of hay preservative. And they say that people have said they've gone into some really nasty wet material and have been able to make really good feed out of it by doing that. And from my own experiences, it does work. So I slowed down and let it do its thing. And ideally, with where this water is standing, it's receding. There was a lot of water down here in March, and part of it you could say it's the year, but last year we had less moisture at this point than this year. We're actually sitting better than last year as far as moisture. The crops look great. The corn and beans, I'm not worried about them drying out, at least for a while yet anyway. I know out west they're saying that there's drought moving across, and people are worried about drought. But for us right now, none of our corn is curled up. Last year at this point, I believe we had already gone like a week where our corn was looking like pineapples. It was curling up and trying to protect moisture in the leaves all day. So, and we still had awesome yields. I'm out of video, so thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you keep watching for the rest of the haymaking videos. So take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.